Hello everyone, Remarkable Republican here to bring you the truth with truth-flavored bias, and today I would like to talk about the 2020 race. Now, for this simulation, I assumed that Hillary and Trump were once again the nominees. I know a lot of left-wing lunatics want to impeach Trump. I don't think that'll happen. And I know that Hillary is planning on running again, and there are a lot of dumb Democrats who want to try that again. And I say, have at it. So I actually have been thinking really hard about what would happen, and I know some of you are probably looking at a few of these states and wondering why I made these predictions, so I will unveil the mystery. So let's start in the far west. Alaska, I think, will actually go to Hillary Clinton in 2020. The reason is that Alaska is a welfare state. They probably aren't aware of it themselves, but Alaska receives a lot of federal money and subsidies. Now, Donald Trump is against government subsidies and he wants to bring a free market. So that means that while most people will do a lot better without all these subsidies to hold them back, Alaska will actually do worse. So these welfare queens will see Trump as a rude awakening, and they are going to side with Hillary. Also, Alaska has been getting more liberal over time. Now, if we move to Hawaii, that's a place where people get way too much sun and they always support Democrats. If you move to the West Coast, California, Oregon, and Washington, what more do I need to say? That's called the left coast for a reason. As we move inland, Nevada. 2016, it went to Hillary by the skin of her teeth. However, this time, I think it's going to go to Trump because Trump will preside over a very successful economy in the next 4 years. And when the economy does well, people go to Vegas and spend money, so the voters there will be happy, and I think that they will reward Donald Trump for that. Moving up to Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, those are Republican states. No further comment is needed. Now, Utah I have as undecided, because what I think is going to happen is that Utah Republicans are still unhappy with Trump, and that someone like an Evan McMullen will form a new permanent third party, and that all the Democrats in Utah, who are probably like 25% of the population, will join that, as well as like the Never Trumpers. But instead of making it like a traditional political party, they'll make it a Mormon party, and that this Mormon party will combine to beat out the Republicans because there will be no Democrats running, and they'll get some of the Republicans that way. So that's my prediction for Utah. The Mormon party will win. And if that Mormon party did happen, it might affect some of the states around it where there are Mormons, but I don't think it will that much. So let's move on. Arizona, I actually have it going to Hillary this time. Last time it got close for a while, but didn't. And I think the real question is whether or not the wall will be built. Because if not, then there's just going to be an insurmountable horde of Mexicans that's going to keep pouring into Arizona, and all Mexicans are pretty much Democrats. So I actually don't think the wall will end up getting built because of Democratic obstruction. New Mexico is also a blue state, and it's a blue state because of Mexicans. It's basically what Arizona will be next time. Colorado, I mean, what do you want me to say? Mexicans and marijuana. That's a Democratic state, if ever there were a Democratic state, because it's got two of their key demographics, potheads and beaners. Going up from the Gulf Coast to the Canadian border, Texas, Democrats keep saying they'll win it one day because of Mexicans, but the thing is, Mexicans in Texas are also fairly conservative, and people in Texas like their gun rights. Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, those are all solid conservative states, no worries, good God-fearing people. Now to Dakotas, I actually think that at least one Dakota will go Democrat. And the reason I think that is because of this DAPL controversy. So while jobs will be created in the state, what'll happen is a lot of people will get upset about any minor oil spill because Greenpeace and all these other sort of rabble-rousing organizations will raise a big stink. And I think what will happen is that some more Democrats will move into North Dakota to try to stop it, or they'll register to vote there or commit voter fraud to try to pressure the state into getting rid of DAPL, which, by the way, wouldn't work, but they'll try it anyway. Also, North Dakota is fairly liberal for a red state. They have a progressive senator named Heidi Heitkamp, who's only marginally less liberal than Bernie Sanders, so that's going to be a problem for them. Now we move over to Minnesota. That's normally a blue state, but I actually have it going to Donald Trump because that economic prosperity will really help people in places like Minneapolis. And I think people there will get sick and tired of the shenanigans of Al Franken, who's a disgrace. In Iowa, I actually have that going to Hillary Clinton. Iowa is a pretty volatile and unpredictable swing state, and they more or less just want to vote the exact opposite way of how they voted last time. They don't really have a lot of ideas or principles. The voters there are very fickle, much like women. Missouri, that is a solid red state, good God-fearing people. Arkansas, same thing, place that really supports Trump. Now, if we move in the deep south, I actually see Hillary Clinton making some inroads. Mississippi. So the thing about Mississippi that a lot of people sometimes overlook is that there is a tremendous black population there. And as that population continues to grow, I think that if they mobilize and they're helped out more by the Democratic Party, I think they can take it. And because Hillary really likes identity politics, she'll probably put resources into Mississippi next time. And also, Cornel West has ties to Mississippi. He's a famous black guy. And I think that Mississippi is actually winnable, and it's surprising the Democrats haven't stolen it yet. Now, Louisiana, this is another one I think that the Democrats will actually manage to steal. There are several reasons for this. The main one is just simply that in Louisiana there are a lot of minorities, and they can really be mobilized. The other thing is that New Orleans is full of queers. Like, there's a countless number of queers in New Orleans, and right now the gay community is voting overwhelmingly in favor of the Democrats. So I think that Hillary Clinton's use of identity politics will play there after 4 years of Trump, because the thing is, like, those PC people will be fired up, and they're going to hate Trump despite all the great things he's going to do. Alabama, good God-fearing people, but because it's next to all these states that are going blue, I think it'll be close, but I think Trump will close it out. Tennessee, Kentucky, those are red strongholds, no worries. Let's go down to Georgia, just like the devil did. Now in Georgia, this is another state where the demographics are shifting in a way that favors minorities. And I think that Georgia will be narrow, just like it was this past time. But instead of going narrowly to Trump, I think it'll go narrowly to Hillary Clinton. They also have free college in Georgia, so that attracts a lot of minorities to move there. And, both people who go to college and minorities are more liberal. So if you have a lot of minorities with college degrees, that's basically a recipe for making a blue state. So it'll go blue, and I imagine it'll happen sooner rather than later. Florida, Donald Trump has actually done a brilliant job of setting himself up to defend Florida. So I think that he will win there. He put Jared Kushner in charge of a lot of stuff, and Kushner and his authority will really inspire Jewish voters. So I think that'll help, and that will basically win the state for him. Let's see. So we move up to South Carolina. I think it'll be really close. Again, that deep South thing of black voters and all that kind of stuff. But I think that despite that and Lindsey Graham being a pain in the ass, I think Trump will still win, because for most Republicans, Donald Trump is the answer, and Lindsey Graham is just a bitter old man who looks like a gay Mark Hamill. North Carolina, this one will go to Trump, because in this case, voters are really going to have regrets about booting Patrick McCrory, who was an excellent governor. And as they see their new governor run the state in the ground, and they see the successes that Trump is having nationally, I think they're going to get on board. So I think North Carolina will be safe, but I think it will be closer than it should be. So it'll probably only be like 54-46, something like that, whereas it should be about 80-20. Now, Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. I have going for Trump. And this is the very simple reason why. Trump is going to run the federal government a lot better and with a lot less corruption than Hillary Clinton. So, what I think will happen is that voters are really going to respect that and reward it. And I think that the local voters will come around and go with that. Also, Trump's tough stance on crime and against black violence will inspire white voters in Maryland to make the switch. And I think that there's a good chance that Trump manages to win Maryland. That's actually the one I'm the least sure of. Maryland, I'm not 100% on that one, but I am pretty positive about D.C. and Virginia. West Virginia, I mean, Trump is pro-coal. West Virginia is all about coal. Need I say more? Let's move back, and then we'll go from Ohio around, and we'll go back to Pennsylvania, and then through the Northeast. How about that? Okay, so in Ohio, I have that going for Hillary Clinton. Ohio's like Iowa. It swings a lot. A lot of things happen for basically no reason. And despite the fact that Ohio is going to gain a lot of jobs, I think that there's going to be blowback because of John Kasich and a lot of other local Ohioans. And let's face it, Ohio is way more liberal than a lot of people realize. Like half of the Northern Civil War generals were from Ohio, so these are big Federalists. These people really love the federal government. So, you know, they'll return the form sooner rather than later. I mean, Trump might win Ohio, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Indiana, Mike Pence's home state. He's pretty beloved there. Not really a chance in hell that Hillary wins that one. Illinois, this one normally goes blue, but I think that Trump will win it easily in 2020. And the reason I say that is because Rahm Emanuel is in charge of Chicago, and Chicago is basically Kill Bill Part 3. Black people there are running amok. There's no order. The police have no authority. And I feel like people are getting sick of it. Not just the people in rural Illinois who are white, but I feel like a lot of non-black people and even some like decent black people in Chicago are going to turn on Rahm Emanuel and the Democrats and, you know, her master Hillary Clinton. And they're just going to vote against all that and try something new. As Trump said famously, what do they have to lose? Wisconsin, I think that Wisconsin is actually a red state now. People don't want to realize it, but that's what's going on. People there have wised up. They don't like political correctness, and they realize that in a country where they shame straight white males, there's no place for people like in Wisconsin where it's mostly straight white males. So I think that's what's going on there primarily. Michigan, I feel like they'll go for Trump once again because he's going to be solving problems, and the privatization that the previous governor, Rick Snyder, and then Trump are doing, these things will be having a lot of positive effects by 2020. It won't be immediately apparent. So I think that Trump will win. It'll probably be close again because there's still a lot of Democrats in Michigan, but Trump will probably win, and he'll probably do better than last time. Now, let's go back to Pennsylvania. Here I have Trump winning, just like he did in 2016. And the reason I have him winning is basically two reasons: coal and industry. Trump is going to create a lot of jobs, and he's going to protect all those coal mining jobs. Like, he just withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord. And I think by doing that one move, he basically just re-won Pennsylvania. I don't even think Hillary Clinton should bother campaigning in Pennsylvania. There's no reason. Trump has that on lockdown. It won't be a huge margin because it's Pennsylvania, but she'll win. I mean, Trump will win like 52-48, and there's absolutely nothing that anybody can do about it. New Jersey, I also have that going for Trump because Trump, one of his main supporters is Chris Christie. And I feel like if Trump and Pence have friction, and there are some reports that they might be having friction, that Pence won't run on the ticket next time, and that Trump will go with his gut and pick Chris Christie. Chris Christie will be cleared of all the bullshit charges against him, and after that, he will, have a good reputation. People in New Jersey will look back, they'll realize what a great governor he was, and I think that they'll really reward the Republicans for giving them such a good government and such a well-run state. Delaware, I almost forgot about it, but that tiny little state that was our first ever state. That will remain Democratic because Joe Biden will either be on Hillary's ticket, because I think what she'll do is try to do a super experience ticket and, try to really copy Obama even more than she did this past time. New York, well, yeah, that's Hillary's home state. I mean, Bill Clinton was governor there. Hillary was a senator. They can't lose that one. And it's also the home of Wall Street, which is totally on the side of the Democrats. Now, Connecticut, I have that one going for Donald Trump. And the reason is simple. Donald Trump has also made another brilliant move which will win him Connecticut. He is going to appoint Joe Lieberman as the FBI director, which would force Joe Lieberman to leave the Democrats and become a Republican. It also discredits John McCain, by the way, because Lieberman and McCain are friends and McCain hates Trump. And back in the 70s, Connecticut was always Republican, but there they really loved Joe Lieberman. So when he switched to become a Democrat, that brought the whole state into the Democratic Party. So when Lieberman becomes a Republican to direct the FBI, that's going to bring the state back. So that's a really effective way to win back a state that the Republicans should have never lost. Rhode Island, which is barely visible, that one will remain Democratic. I think Lincoln Chafee and a lot of other strong Democrats there will continue to pull the lever for Hillary Clinton. Massachusetts, that's the home of Hillary's lesbian lover, Elizabeth Warren. A lot of liberals there, not much you can do. New Hampshire, I think that ultimately the voters there are open-minded, and they're also very pro-gun. Hillary is notoriously anti-gun, which has always been a problem for her. Whereas Trump is going to do a lot of good things for gun owners in the next 4 years. And I think that will be enough combined with the economic prosperity to win them over. Vermont, I also have going red because if Hillary runs again, Bernie Sanders will run again. And he'll lose again because he's a left-wing nut job who's unelectable even within his own party. So this time he's going to get super pissy, and he will probably do something rash or tell all his voters to protest vote for Trump or something like that. So I think what will happen is Vermont will follow whatever Bernie does, and I think that Vermont will go red in 2020. As for Maine, let's be honest here. It's the home of Stephen King. These people like a good horror show, and they love a good monster. So they will line up happily and pull the lever for Hillary Clinton, and Trump won't even get that extra vote he got this time. Because Mainers are kind of depressing, boring people, and they will not enjoy the prosperity that the rest of us are. Also, Maine doesn't have industry, so they won't be benefiting the way that other states will. So they won't have the same incentive to vote for Trump that people in Wisconsin have. So anyway, that's it. I'm Remarkable Republican, bringing you the truth with truth-flavored bias, and this is how I think the 2020 election would play out if it was held between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Peace out.